We are on day 41. Can you believe this? Today's February 10th, and the devotion for today is titled Rest Stops. The morning rinse is 2 Corinthians 7 through 9, so go ahead and pause this, read the morning rinse or listen to it, and come on back. So the featured verse is 2 Corinthians 9:8. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed. Okay, so listening to that featured verse, you may be looking at it and asking yourself, how does this verse have anything to do with a rest stop? Before I share with you that, let us first look at the word grace. So the word grace really is when God gives us grace, He gives us help, and He gives us power, and He gives us favor to do all the things that He asks us to do. So we receive this grace not because we deserve it, or not because we've done some amazing feat, or we've built a city, or we've done any of that. It's because He freely gives it to us. He freely gives us the power that we need, the help that we need, all of that. But we must want it. So I love today's featured verse because it actually illustrates the fact that we cannot outgive God. The more that we do for Him, the more He gives us the help to do it, right? It's like this rotating give and take kind of a thing, and we can't outgive Him. And I will say this, multiple times. I talked about it when we had the conversation about tithing. I'll talk about it in other places, but we cannot outgive Him. And His grace, His help, His power for us is overflowing, and He is able to make that grace pour out of us so that we have all that we need to perform every good deed. This will include our need for emotional grace for others and for ourselves. So sometimes we do need that grace for others, and then sometimes we need it for ourselves. We need help. He also gives us financial grace, help, and power to make great financial decisions. Energy grace, that energy that's needed to get up in the morning and work out or do whatever. He gives us that grace, and all grace in every good deed that we do, and every good deed that we want to do in the future. Let's get back to that question. How does this relate to a rest stop? Just imagine, what if you were to encounter some kind of need where your help was needed, and God has given you the grace or the abundance, the overflow, to be the answer to meet that need. But what if you take a rest stop from doing your good deeds? What if you decide on your own accord that the next person in your row at church should be the one to meet that need, instead of you tapping into your abundance to meet the need? Or what if you decide that even though you maybe have been called to pray for people or have a word of encouragement for someone, and then you decide to keep your mouth closed, or in essence, take a rest stop? These are perfect examples of taking that rest stop, when we stop and choose not to do the thing. And if God has given us an abundance of grace to do good deeds, imagine what the world would be like if we used that grace to perform good deeds in abundance. What if we became so ministry-minded that we were consistently looking for ways to help others? Like it was our life. I mean, I understand that Jesus rested and He took breaks to recoup and to be alone, but it was after He ministered. I mean, even on vacations with family and during our playtime, we can still perform good deeds. And a lot of times when Jesus would rest, He would get re-energized, like when you go to the doctor's office, or when you go to get an injection of B12 vitamins or something of that nature. I mean, I know it's kind of a weird analogy, but yes, Jesus took rest times and he rested to take breaks to recuperate. But I kind of have this idea that maybe during those rest times, it wasn't because he wanted to pass the baton to someone else to do the thing. It was because it was that moment where he was getting an injection of more grace. And so I'm not talking about that kind of rest. I'm talking about the rest stops of, I just don't want to do it today. And so that's where the featured verse comes into play. Let me read it again. And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed. So we're always going to have to be able to tap into more grace for every good deed. Today's challenge to dig deeper is something kind of tangible. I want you to look today for a way to do a good deed for someone. And I want you to search outside the box. I mean, one of the first things that might come to mind are those normal things like paying for the person's coffee behind you in the Starbucks line. That can be great, but look for new ways to do a good deed. Have your spirit eyes on today. Look for somebody who could potentially be needing something. Don't take a rest from doing good deeds today. Because if you look for a need, regardless of whether or not you may be taking a break from ministry, or I'm not talking about that. If you are looking for a need in the community, you just might be surprised at what other needs will pop up that you may never have noticed before. And if you are not for sure what that might look like, then ask somebody. Ask people how they're doing and delve into that conversation and see if there's anything at all that someone may need your help with. So that's your challenge for today. So go out and live a life today where you are looking for a need that is out there, looking for something to do for someone else, because you never know the heart that is going to receive that need. And then tonight, when you pull out your devotional or your journal, and you're writing down the reflection, write down the good deed that you did today and write down how it made you feel to answer God's still small voice when he showed you that need. And then purpose in your mind to stay open to his voice every single day, to do that good deed he has given you the grace to do, because only you have that ability. You have that special touch, and he's given you grace to do something very, very special. Nobody else can do it like you. Now, somebody may have to fill in if you take that rest stop, or needs will go unmet. But you have the ability, and it's your special DNA. So I hope today's podcast encouraged you to put your spirit eyes on and look around and see what kind of need that you can supply today for other people. And if you still haven't gotten the devotional, go to the show notes or to AnitaCordell.com and be sure and order the devotional. It will help you to continue to dig deeper into God's Word and apply the truths that we are walking through the Bible today doing. And also too, if you don't have your journal also, then the link is also in the show notes as well as AnitaCordell.com. And until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.